Yes.
These Bitcoiners are a bunch of prima donnas, man. Samson. All right, guys, it's 6:01. Let's go ahead and kick things off. Thanks for coming, everybody. Looks like we got almost a full house here in beautiful downtown Ubud. We do this every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So we do this online too. So anyone watching online, I hope that if you're in Bali on a Tuesday night, we rain or shine, 6 p.m. local. We're here talking about Bitcoin. We've got a good show lined up for tonight. Let's see, it's June 16th, 2015. It's Bitcoin filter number 49. We're approaching the number 52. One whole year of Bitcoin meetings, but we're not there yet. Tonight's going to be a good one. I named this one Steady As She Goes because the price was just so flat lately. It was getting really boring, but it's actually good for things like remittance and stuff, and now the price is going crazy. So there goes that idea. We'll talk a little bit about price and volatility, though. We're going to go around the world. We're going to stop in Zimbabwe and Cyprus and Greece and China. So that should be good. We've got a Bitcoin infographic that was developed, at least in part, right here at Ubud. A small team of marketers were here, and now it's actually got some good international exposure. And I think Giorgio said he was going to be here, the guy behind it, but I don't see him in the room yet, so we'll see if he joins us in a bit. We've also got the Bali Unite Festival. We watched the trailer for it last week, and this week we've got the man behind it, Manu, who is also not here yet, but he always comes late, so that's all right. I know he will be here. I talked to him earlier today. And then if we get to it, I mean, we've got a full roster. If we get to it, we'll talk about the postings that we've seen on the message board for the last week. So let's go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to share my screen with the folks at home. So they're no longer seeing me. They're going to see what you guys are seeing up on the screen here. All right, so we are coming to you live from Ubud. That stands for the hub in Ubud. They're nice enough to provide this space that we're in. It's a co-working space right here in Ubud, and we thank them for allowing us to have these meetups every week. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Sorry, Ubud. There we go. Okay, so the way this works, what are we up to here? We're meeting in person, but when we're not together in person, we're having a virtual conversation on this Bitcoins in Bali group. If you go to facebook.com/Bitcoins in Bali, you'll find an online conversation. So these are folks that have joined us in person, and then when we're not together, they post these things online. And then when we get together in person, we talk about it. So if you find anything that you wanted to talk about after tonight's meeting, you can just post it here and we'll talk about it next week. We also have a conversation going on Twitter with hashtag Bitcoins in Bali. So if you want to start up a conversation through Twitter, just hashtag it Bitcoins in Bali and we'll find it here. Okay, local news. This past Saturday, we had our Bitcoin 101. Once a month, we have a Bitcoin 101 class where we assume people know nothing about Bitcoin. They start from absolute zero, and after a couple hours, they've got a Bitcoin on their phone, Bitcoin on their laptop, and then we go to a local restaurant that accepts Bitcoin as payment. We had this past Saturday. We had about 10 people in the room, and so we've got 10 new converts. I think only one is here tonight, though. Is that right? Christine was at that class. And, well, the rest of them, I guess they're just running late. But anyway, yes, so next month we'll do another Bitcoin 101, and I'll post the details about that when I have it. Also in local news, right here at Ubud, next month is going to be Bitcoin month. And Bitcoin is offering all their memberships for 10% off if you pay with Bitcoin. So if you're one of those people who don't have Bitcoin yet and you want to figure out how to get Bitcoin before July, well, see me and I'll help you, and then you can get 10% on your membership next month. Also in local news, this past, was it Friday or Saturday, Johnny Freesh was on stage at Deus Ex Machina, and he has a brand new rap called F Your Bank, which premiered at, and he got up on stage. There were like several hundred people at this venue, and he said, "Has anyone heard about Bitcoin?" Yes, it was good. Johnny is an evangelist, way more powerful than me in spreading the word. So, and it was cool. I don't have the lyrics, but they sounded pretty good. Maybe we can get Johnny to do a live performance one of these Tuesdays. He's not going to be here tonight, but maybe next Tuesday. I'll see if I can't nail him down for that. But it was good. It was very good. Anyway, elsewhere in local news, usually we look at this coinmap.org, and as you can see, they changed their interface. This is what we use to find Bitcoin businesses that accept Bitcoin, brick and mortar businesses, and they've got a whole, basically a whole new look and feel to the website. Here's Bali down here, and we've got about 37 businesses in Bali that accept Bitcoin. That's pretty good, especially when you compare to, like, if I scroll up here to, where's Singapore? Uh-oh, we're in the ocean now. Hello, we're stranded. Oh, there's Jakarta. Sorry, guys. Anyway, if you zoom in on Singapore, which is a much bigger place, they've only got 42. So we're gaining on Singapore. If we get 5 more businesses, Bali will be a better destination than Singapore, the financial center of the universe for Asia. Just saying. So we'll keep on trying. Okay, so let's talk about Bitcoin price. We talk about the price every week. This is the historical price. I wanted to show you like the all-time price graph for Bitcoin. Look, Bitcoin was born back here in 2009. Kind of looks like it's dead. And then we had the first spike. This is where it went from like $1 to $26. This is when people discovered the Silk Road, and you could buy and sell drugs for Bitcoin. And so everybody thought that was going to be a thing, but it actually spiked and then crashed. And then we had another spike. This is when Cyprus had its problems with, basically their banks were insolvent, and they had what's called a bail-in, right? So one day you had $100,000 in your bank account in Cyprus, and you woke up the next day and you only had 60,000 euros in your bank account in Cyprus. And so people said, well, maybe we should be thinking about Bitcoin instead of euros. This was the second spike. Then this one was when the United States had their Senate hearings on Bitcoin. And the upshot was that Bitcoin needed no new legislation at this time. It was like very friendly to Bitcoin, and it went all the way up to over $1,000 per Bitcoin. But now we're in the hangover period here. It's been a different story since that last spike. And remember, I named tonight's show "Steady as She Goes" because it's been very flat, almost going all the way back to January. We've seen a very flat period here in the price. And if you look, let's see here, the volatility for the last 30 days has been only 1%. So that's a good news and bad news. If you're a merchant and you're thinking about not converting your Bitcoins to rupiah or euros or dollars, this helps you make that decision, because if volatility is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, and all of your bills are in euros or rupiah or dollars, then you might not be able to pay your bills if your profit margin is less than those figures. So anyway, it's I don't think we've seen the end of Bitcoin volatility, but lately it's been kind of flat. So let's take a look at the price. You can see that over the last 24 hours, we've gone from a little bit over 235 to somewhere north of $241. $241. Is it raining out there? All right. We do this show rain or shine, so I'm glad you guys arrived just in time. Okay, so $241.80 per Bitcoin. I found this on Reddit today. There's a bot on Coinbase Exchange buying 2 Bitcoins every 30 seconds. It's slowly chewing through the order book. Who knows? Somebody has got a robot on one of the exchanges buying Bitcoins every 30 seconds. 2 of them, which is what, about $500 every 30 seconds. So one of the things I love about Bitcoin is it's got this transparency to it. Like, stuff happens out in the world and you just have to like scratch your head and wonder what's going on. But it's almost like David Attenborough out in the jungle, like observing some sort of new natural phenomenon and like, what is it? What is this robot doing? It's buying Bitcoins. What are they thinking? And there's some always funny and interesting analysis from the peanut gallery. I've been watching it for 2 hours now. It might have been operating before that, but I don't know. For a brief time, it was selling Bitcoins instead of buying Bitcoins. Even though it's only 2 Bitcoins every 30 seconds, it is doing a pretty good job of chewing through the open orders. And then down here, market making bots only use limit orders. This is something else. Could it be arbitrage? I don't know. But anyway, it's fun to see these kind of things crop up. Endless entertainment value and/or wasting time value. So be careful if you go to Reddit behind the VPN. You could lose an hour or 2. All right, so we are in Indonesia. What's the price on the Indonesian exchange? Just over 3,100,000 Indonesian rupiah for 1 Bitcoin. And I thought it was interesting to note when it moves this quickly, when the price is moving this quickly, you can see right now the bitcoin.co.id price is 3.3% below the world average, right? So if you've got an account on the bitcoin.co.id website, Bitcoins are on sale locally here in Indonesia. This always happens though on the bitcoin.co.id site because they just don't have as deep a market here in Indonesia as the global market is. So you can see they're doing a little over 220 Bitcoins per day. That's dwarfed by other markets around the world. So
I think it's just volume, Gary, that puts us lower. I'm sure that's a supply and demand issue. It's volume.
Well, because it's a smaller volume, I assume it's a shallower order book, but I don't really know. What I've noticed though, and I've seen, I watch this quite closely, and when there's dramatic moves in price, the bitcoin.co.id price kind of follows along or it lags behind, depending on who's there. But if you look at the order book at bitcoin.co.id, people are selling like, $3 worth of Bitcoin, $5 worth of Bitcoin. It's like 0.00001 Bitcoin. So
can I give a comment on that?
Sure.
It's trading a discount or premium?
They're trading on locally at 3% below what the global average is.
No, because we've seen a lot of other emerging markets on the trading that actually trades at a premium.
Yeah.
Exchange controls, capital controls. So a lot of companies arbitrage between the exchanges, but because it's difficult to move currency in and out, it tends to trade at a premium. But it's quite interesting that this is. And
I hear your South African accent, and where the capital controls are quite severe. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So you would know. That's it.
We run a business in Indonesia as well.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for coming. Are you? Is it BitX? Is that? Thanks for coming. It's good to have you here. No. Welcome. Good to have you. Please feel free to chime in. We'd love to have your perspective. All right. So tonight we're going to continue our series on altcoins. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick Shreves. He's going to talk about Monero. Take it away, Rick.
Thanks, Gary. You want to scroll down just a little bit so we can see Monero on the market cap ranking. They're number 14, I believe. That's correct. Gary asked me to do Monero this week because the last time we did this, which was a couple of weeks back, we did Dashcoin, right? Dashcoin, which used to be called Darkcoin. Monero is really widely considered to be the major contender or competitor for Dashcoin because it is an anonymous currency as well. That's really one of the things that makes Monero interesting. As you can see from the market cap data, there's a significant lag in its market capitalization behind Dash at this point in time. So it really does have quite a ways to go to catch up with Dash, or to even threaten to dethrone Dash. Really, honestly, since Dash rebranded, they went from Darkcoin to Dash, which is something a tad more credible at least, and they open sourced the Dash coin software, and everyone got a chance to look at the coin and say, hey, okay, this is legit, it's all good. Dash has really strengthened significantly and made it difficult for Monero, but there's still some things about Monero you should know. First, Monero's symbol on all the trading exchanges is XMR. So if you see somebody trading XMR, they're trading Monero. Monero, by the way, just for the trivia buffs in the crowd, means money in Esperanto. It only dates back 1 year. It was formulated in April of 2014 by a number of the guys on the Bitcoin Talk forum. They took the CryptoNote anonymous cryptography protocol and used it as the basis for creating Monero, but they coded Monero from scratch. It is purely open source. It has a couple of interesting characteristics. Characteristic number one, there's no halving on the block rewards. Each block is worth slightly less Monero than the previous block. So it's a very, very gradual decrease, or if you prefer, a very, very gradual change in the inflation rate of the currency. There'll be about 18 million Monero mined at the end of 8 years. Thereafter, the large-scale mining stops, but in order to provide a continued incentive for the miners, there's actually a 1% inflation built into Monero per year from that point forward. So they're trying to avoid the problem of disincentivizing miners once you get past the preliminary mining period. The other thing that's interesting about Monero, 60-second block times, okay, significantly faster than we see with Bitcoin. It's not a Bitcoin fork. And block difficulty is recalculated every single block, which basically evens the playing field for mining operations and takes away the incentive to, mine whoever has the easiest difficulty rating, throw all your resources at it, then shift all your resources to another currency and mine there where the difficulty is easiest. So it evens things out a bit. Their algorithm also tends to not allow people with GPU mining rigs to gain an advantage over CPU miners. So in other words, Monero has taken a number of steps to make the mining process a bit more egalitarian and reduce the threat of disincentivizing and losing a viable pool of miners. So between their mining protections, which are quite smart, and between the slow growth rate in the currency, which is very, very controlled and very predictable, no disruptive halving, a number of people are actually quite positive about Monero being a viable alternative currency. Not a whole lot to tell you about it other than that. I mean, if you're interested in anonymous currencies, it's definitely worth looking at. One thing that is nice, if you are, for example, someone who doesn't want to have anonymous transactions all the time, in Monero, you can actually elect to have the transaction to be transparent. So anonymity is an option in Monero, but it's not a requirement. So if you're an NGO or somebody who has to have transparency with your transactions, you can transact in Monero and it all is exposed. Obviously, it's a peer-to-peer, decentralized kind of system like the other cryptocurrencies out there. In that regard, it's similar. And really, that's about all I have to tell you about Monero today, I think. Gary, what got you excited about Monero?
Well, as you can see, there's a big list of coins. I don't know if there's at least hundreds. There might even be thousands of altcoins. Yeah. But most of them are a fork of Bitcoin, right? Many of them are a fork of Bitcoin, and Monero is one of those that is not just a fork of Bitcoin. It's a new thing. I didn't know when I asked you to do it that Dash and Monero came from the same code base, but that's interesting. We're doing this series on altcoins because, well, in part because Bitcoin itself has this big decision that it's making, right? This block size problem. Well, not problem. It's a decision that the community has to make. But if it stumbles, if something happens with Bitcoin, then there'll be possibly this giant sucking sound into some other coin or some other idea. This is all these coins exist in this kind of Darwinian zone where to find out what algorithms are going to win out, what inflation rates are going to win out. We don't really know. These things are new on planet Earth, and I think it's good to know which coins are out there and why they're different, and we can make our own conjectures about whether the decisions that they've made about being different from Bitcoin are viable or not. But Monero is one that's hit my radar several times. And
Could I add something?
Sure.
On Monero? Just doing what Rick was saying. Monero was originally a fork of Bytecoin, which is 2 above it. Bytecoin emerged from the dark web. No one knows who built that at all. And they were the first ones to, the Bytecoin developers essentially created crypto nodes and crypto night and all that stuff. Bytecoin was entirely pre-mined when it came out to the clear web. It had already been totally mined, so there's no incentive for miners to get behind it, whereas Monero started again from scratch. I think the code base has diverged a bit since, but they're essentially the same. And in comparison to Dash, the way they anonymize transactions is different. What Dash anonymizes it with a supernode. So the transactions go first to a supernode, which scrambles the transactions and then distributes them to the destinations. Now the supernode takes a fee. I used to have a Dash supernode for a little while. Whereas Monero does it with ring signatures, which I consider to be a more advanced technology. It's definitely more distributed. If you look at the scale of centralization and purely distributed, Monero falls further in the spectrum of a distributed system than Dash does because it's using those supernodes. So you're actually, the transaction cost on Monero is cheaper because you're not relying on a supernode to do the anonymizing of the transaction. You're simply using your peers in ring signatures to do that anonymization.
Cool. Fascinating. Good stuff. Glad you're here tonight, Manu. adding to the discussion for sure. All right. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. Okay, now we're going to take our little trip around the world. We have this news item here. Zimbabwe is, for those of you who don't know, Zimbabwe is famous for having a $1 trillion note. They're in the modern era, they're the most recent government that has experienced hyperinflation. And they've finally cried uncle, and they're now offering an exchange rate of the old Zimbabwe. What's the name of the currency? Do we know what the name of the currency? It's $1, Zimbabwe dollar, to the US dollar. Here's the rule here. Bank accounts with balances of up to 175 quadrillion Zimbabwe dollars will be paid $5.
So they're pegging to the USD.
Yes, they're trading in all these old notes for new notes.
But you see that note there in the picture. I was just in 2 months ago. That note there is worth about $20 US on the street as a souvenir.
As a souvenir. Ah, yes.
Because that's the largest note ever treated. So you can pay the hustlers to sign that for $100. I'm sorry, for $20.
So this is what's known as numismatic value. It's become a collector's item that's more valuable than the face value on the front of it. But it's a good reminder that when you start printing money, all governments have this really perverse incentive to do exactly what Zimbabwe has done. And many governments throughout history have done just that. And it's just a good reminder that that even if we don't have Zimbabwe dollars in our pocket, they are still pieces of paper. And at the end of the day, governments can do, well, whatever they want. So anyway, that's Zimbabwe. Let's move on to Cyprus. Now, Cyprus, this is a story from back in March of 2013. But what's it about? It's about capital controls. This is right around the time when Cyprus was experiencing its, quote, bail-in, where all of its banks were insolvent and they were figuring out how to, quote, recapitalize the banks. And they gave everybody a haircut, right? That recapitalized the banks. But in order to keep the banking system going, they implemented capital controls. What are the capital controls? All savings accounts must run until their expiry date, no early withdrawals. So imagine you've got money in your savings account, but you can't get it out. No checks will be cashed. All check deposits, although check deposits will be allowed. So you can give them more money, but if you want money out, well, you're out of luck. Unlimited use of credit cards is allowed within Cyprus, but there's a spending limit of $5,000 abroad. So really, they're trying to keep money in the country, right? They're trying to keep money from leaving the country. Import payments will be allowed when the relevant documents are provided to the authorities in the Cypriot. So if it's anything over $10,000, you got to get the government involved. So anyway, this is what was happening in the spring of 2013, and incidentally, that's what corresponded with a big spike in the Bitcoin price, right? One of the big spikes up to, I think, over $225 was coincident with all of these capital controls that were happening in Cyprus. So I bring this up only because now we're in Greece. Greece's economy will be locked down with capital controls if it can't find a deal by the weekend. This is where we are with Greece. Greece is in trouble, and we don't know what's going to happen, but it's definitely a soap opera worth tuning into. Of course, whenever somebody reports that there will be capital controls, Greece chimes in and says, no, there won't be any capital controls. But that's exactly what happened in Cyprus as well. And I think if there is a, quote, Grexit, it probably will be correlated with capital controls in Greece. And by almost every measure you can think of, there's already been a lot of capital flight out of Greece already. So
this might cause another upspike in Bitcoin.
Yes. It could, I mean, if Greece fails, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Bitcoin price, because last time this happened on a sovereign level, last time it was in Cyprus, the Bitcoin price climbed. So we shall see. This is a story that has a kind of a roundup of all the Greek stories. I'll put that in the show notes and you can read at your leisure. Okay, last stop, China. This was posted by Rick, I think, shortly after our last meeting. But it's interesting to take a look at what China's doing. We've talked a lot about China over the last few episodes, about how they've got their Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, about how they've got, essentially trying to introduce the yuan into the IMF's basket of currencies, the SDR. They're making a lot of moves that appear to be a repudiation of the dollar. And one of those moves is also a big interest in Bitcoin. And when I pulled this story up tonight, I also pulled up this Fiat Leak site. And it's pretty much pegged to the floor with Bitcoins flowing into China. I don't know if you guys have looked at this site before, but it's you can't even read this.
So what does this? This represents how much?
This supposedly represents how much of the individual currencies that are listed down here are being converted into Bitcoin. But this is according to the API provided by the Chinese exchanges. So and the Chinese exchanges could be doing some sort of reserve, fractional reserve, buying and selling with their Bitcoin. It's not clear if that's the case. I think I remember reading somebody doing some analysis saying that there's no way they could be trading this much Bitcoin. They've got to be doing so on a fractional reserve basis. But I don't really know. I do know that this site uses the API provided by OKCoin, Huobi. You can see them happening in real time here. These small amounts of Bitcoin being traded on the various Chinese exchanges. But I mean, it's a lot. Either Chinese are actually trading this much Bitcoin, or these exchanges are lying to us. But in any case, it's very interesting to watch what's happening. And I think, well, if China gets their currency introduced to the IMF's currency, the SDR, if the yuan is included in that basket of currencies come this fall when they meet on that topic, then Bitcoin will also play a role, right? Because it's just another repudiation of the present global monetary system. And you can see they're very much a player here. Incidentally, they're doing the same thing with gold, but we don't have a graphical user interface to see how much gold they're collecting. But it's all in the name of shoring up their own economy versus real things, right? They do it with Bitcoin, they do it with gold, they do it with skyscrapers in New York City. There's a massive push towards real things instead of paper things. So anyway, that is China. All right, next up, Giorgio, we've got your beautiful infographic developed right here. Well, I don't know exactly what the story is behind this beautiful thing, but can you come over here, like on this side, and give us the scoop, man? How did this thing come to be? This is very cool.
Thanks. Well, maybe I should start out with like telling what the company is and why we did Bitcoin infographic. But essentially, the company is just a coupon site. We just launched it 3 months ago. I worked in London. I'm still basically working for the same company back in the UK. But we decided they've been running a coupon site there. They have like a mini accelerator incubator. So they have a lot of different companies that they're running, but they had a coupon site in the UK and they wanted to do something abroad. So we basically came here to start a coupon site in different countries in Asia and also in Australia and America, just kind of like see how it works. So, it's strategies that we use for marketing. Obviously, it's like SEO. But we really try to like provide some value, and we really try to make it more than just a coupon site. Because coupons alone for me is not really inspiring. It's been being done the same way for a long time. So basically, we figured one way we could provide value is to actually start generating a database of all the providers that we work with, or affiliate merchants, that actually also accept Bitcoin. And we figured there's a few databases of Bitcoin accepting merchants, but they're sort of not really updated, or we just didn't think they provide much value. And we figured that's something that we could do, even though we haven't actually done it yet, but it's in our interest. And of course, I personally have had an interest in Bitcoin for a while. I also work for a fintech accelerator called Barclays Accelerator in London, and we actually convinced them to get 3 blockchain companies this year. So anyways, we put in some effort to create a Bitcoin infographic, which is mostly related to e-commerce. It's basically, we looked at some trends and we figured there is, especially with the leveling up of the price recently, we like to believe that there's more and more people starting to hopefully use Bitcoin as ways to as a ways to make payments rather than an investment commodity. And we started bringing up lots of different data points. A lot of this, can you go up a little bit?
Sure.
So if we start out, this is the biggest merchants. A lot of you are probably aware of them. Can you go down lower? The top 5 countries, none of this is a surprise, I think.
These are merchants.
These are where Bitcoin accepting merchants. So basically the infographic is really focused on like the use of Bitcoin, how many merchants accept it, how many people actually go and use Bitcoin to buy stuff, etc. Go down a little bit lower. So we basically BitPay actually provided this. This is only for BitPay. But if you could go down a little lower, you can see if like a lot of the money that was being saved by people who have used Bitcoin rather than a credit card to make payments for certain transactions.
Is that this figure here?
Yes.
Yeah. $7 million. That's pretty cool.
We basically got the data of transactions from blockchain.info, and that's just been on the rise for a while. Now this is a bit tricky. This is also coming directly from BitPay. A lot of it still is in Bitcoin mining, but we don't really have a data of like what it was before, but I would like to believe that it was more so of like maybe majority of it was into Bitcoin mining, and
So-
then the rest was going places. But
Are these miners converting their mined Bitcoins into cash? Is that what's happening here?
yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
Huh.
Or paying for services, or maybe like cloud mining services,
Would
Ah.
it be buying mining hardware as well? That's a big
Or-
market.
or buying mining hardware. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, we took it directly out of the Bitbrace spreadsheets.
So it's their definition of Bitcoin mining.
It's their definition, exactly. Now, go up a little bit. Now, this is a bit more interesting, the number of transactions, because we noticed that actually the highest number of transactions is really for buying gift cards,
Huh.
which kind of like
Oh, yeah.
tells us that actually people are seeking ways to reach out to merchants that are not accepting Bitcoin yet, because if you go on gift, you can buy a gift card from almost anywhere in America, any major store. So we thought that's actually quite interesting, and that's one good indication. Go down more. So this is also quite interesting. You might have seen that on Coin Desk. However, this is on overstock.com. It says on the bottom, but we just thought it's pretty odd. But still, it's I just never really thought that sheets is the most number one bought thing on Overstock. Surprising for us as well. But that's just another interesting indication that, you know, people are starting to do more than just, I don't know, I
I
guess.
got my theories.
Yeah. Also, another thing that you could take into consideration, that I know there's people who are trying to convert money. They're trying to like use their Bitcoins. I know many are actually buying things afterwards, and then they're converting. Can consider that as well, but I can't really tell you how many people are doing it.
Hey Frank, you can sit there. It's empty.
Or,
Yeah.
This is again for BitPay, but the top 3 emerging countries for Bitcoin use in Indonesia.
Indonesia, yay.
You know.
Did you use your model for this guy? Is that Booty or Delta? Oscar. Okay, yes, this is awesome.
Yeah. Whatever you call it.
Down. This is interesting.
This is from still accepted Bitcoin actually.
It's most compelling for restaurants. I think transaction volume, and people with Bitcoin need to eat every day, right? So we've done like a few like jewelry stores and places like that, and the transactions are so infrequent that the staff forget even what Bitcoin is. But it's interesting. We've seen the same thing here locally about food businesses accepting
Pretty
Bitcoin.
much donates. Now, I mean, there hasn't been much money in like Bitcoin itself lately, as you saw the graph earlier, but there's a lot more money being put in. So we just figured that we'll create another section of it just to kind of showcase, because lately, and a lot of these are like, I mean, like Circo is a wallet. It makes it basically very easy to use and Bitcoin, buy and sell, and BitPay and Coinbase are basically the 2 main people who are trying to get as many merchants as possible. 2 main companies trying to get as many merchants as possible. And this one, do you guys know what's the biggest one?
This one, 21?
Yeah.
Yes, Bella G.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
Bella G's company.
this is like,
What is it?
it's called, they call it the anonymous. Is that how they call it?
Right, their business plan was anonymous until
It was
recently.
anonymous until they recently, I think, they announced that they will integrate a mining chip into
The Internet of Things.
yes.
So your light bulbs will mine Bitcoin. Your washer and dryer, your refrigerator will become a Bitcoin miner.
And is that that's like a good use of waste heat? Is that their idea? Or
I don't know. You know, they recently did a blog post on what exactly their business model is, but I don't fully understand it. So
Yeah.
it's worth a look, though.
I don't fully understand it either, but there's extremely smart people behind it. Like Anderson Horowitz invested, and lots of very other smart people.
Right.
Because that waste heat thing is quite, like, I've just come from Perth in the winter. A lot of my friends are using like their computers as Bitcoin miners or some sort of miners as heaters for their house. Because then it's like, well, you can just plug in a normal heater that doesn't do
mine
anything
Bitcoins.
useful. Yeah, or you can power up your GPUs and CPU and run them on max and heat your room and get something useful out of that.
Yeah, man. Secure the network. Stay warm.
That's so useful for Indonesia.
Yes, it's already warm enough here, I think.
Bitcoin air conditioning.
And this is the latest point. I really tried for a week to get data from 2015. Wasn't able to, but this is something that I saw last year, and I thought it's interesting. Basically, Bitcoin, by that time, I don't know now, but that time it had surpassed Western Union for daily transaction volume. Now, again, it could be a bit misleading the way you see it.
This is in dollars, not in number of transactions. And this is 17 million.
So that's
correct?
Big.
Yeah.
It's basically billion, I think.
Yeah.
The way it's going.
Nice to see Bitcoin above Western Union there. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's it going? Volume of transactions or value?
value, $sign.
Yeah.
Transaction volume, but then it's counted
in dollars.
in value.
I've got a transaction volume graph that I'll show you guys later. And actually, I think there's one up here, right? We've passed 100,000 transactions per day earlier this year. So I guess it's just a different way to look at it if you map it on.
It's a different way to look at it, because to do a transaction on Western Union is a lot. It takes a lot more steps than obviously doing it with Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I think it's just nice to see Bitcoin on the map somewhere with these guys. And this came from the Let's Talk payments.
Let's talk.
Well, anyways, this is basically it. I wanted to say, if anybody wants to share, I know there's a lot of Bitcoin people here. If anybody wants to share the infographic on their blog, please do. We really want to spread it around.
Is it on the Bitcoin Valley Facebook? Can we get it from there?
I think
it's there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the Facebook now. I'm also happy to share it and provide more information if somebody wants more. Thanks.
Yeah,
it's actually made in Indonesia too.
Yes, right here in Indonesia.
But yeah, that's sort of it.
Cool. Thanks, Giorgio.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. Excellent, excellent. All right. Let's see. This is that transaction volume graph that I mentioned. So you can see we're regularly up over 100,000. And incidentally, you know, the block size debate is answering this trend here, because once we get to about 7 transactions per second, we're going to have a problem. And we talked about the block size problem last week. It's an ongoing problem. I've got some stuff on that, but before we do, we are lucky enough to have Manu with us. Manu is organizing this Bali Unite festival, which happens at the end of July. Let me see if we can. And we did watch your trailer last week, and the discussions on the Facebook page were around the economic sustainability of the Balinese people, right? Because, well, and maybe I can turn it over to you, Manu, and if you wouldn't mind coming over here so we can hear you better.
Yeah, certainly.
So tell us about this.
Could we pull up the other one on the YouTube and just show a brief extract of that?
Should I just go here to YouTube like this?
Yeah, that would do it. channel. We're expecting 10,000 to 15,000 people. And it's all geared around sustainability. It's all bamboo architecture, participatory development models, and things like that. And I've been spending a lot of time with the villagers down there, learning their way of life. Spending time with them, learning about their way of life, and they're actually, it's a bit of an economic and political disaster zone there. These poor villagers, which had possibly one of the most sustainable, sustainable cultures that I'd come across in a long time, all basically bankrupt right now because of a variety of different factors. I'll just show you a very brief extract from the villager. It explains it quite well.
Said this will be a perfect place to create a community-based development. Ini makanya, ini saya jelaskan ini. Kami punya ini ada hidungnya juga, bentuknya seperti ikan. Kalau dulu pakai layar, sekarang pakai mesin karena untuk menjangkau ikan-ikan yang ada di laut, biar kami bisa tangkap ikan itu karena jaraknya sekarang udah jauh. Nah, jadinya kami sangat sedih, tapi di sisi lain juga kami harus berusaha menangkap keluarga kami dengan bekerja di tempat lain. Ekonominya di sini sangat lemah. Semua barang pada naik. Sedangkan penghasilan nggak ada. Nelayan juga bangkrut. Mancing juga nggak ada. Ikan. Kenapa ikan habis? Tidak tahu. Soalnya lautnya nggak kasih tahu.
They understand that together with us.
Basically, their traditional way of life is they go out in sailing boats, harnessing wind energy. They build their boats all from materials that occur naturally within close to their village. They cook them on coconut husks, skewered with shoots of the
Bamboo?
No, not bamboo, banana fronds. And it harvests arak and harvests tuak from the coconut palms. Their beer basically grows on trees, you know. I mean, they had an incredible, sustainable society full of abundance, no scarcity. Now, overfishing by commercial fisheries means they can't catch fish with a sailboat anymore. They have to use a petrol motor boat, which then they have to buy petrol. They're now getting charged land tax for their properties. The old people think up until now, all the waste they would produce, like, you know, you've seen the Balinese with how they make their ceremonial presentations and wrap food in bamboo leaves or other intricate things. All of their trash was fertilizer. And so now, I mean, they don't even realize that plastic, the new trash, is toxic to their environment. So all the land is covered with, all their gardens are just full of plastic.
Packaging, like food packaging.
Yeah, all food packaging, cosmetic packaging, just everywhere. So a lot of that's already been cleaned up by the festival. But basically, they're going to try and set up a WiMAX hotspot for the whole community as well. And it just seemed like if it's a sustainability festival, everyone in this room knows pretty well fiat currency is not very sustainable. I was basically putting it out there to the Bitcoin community of Bali to see what bright ideas possibly we could collaboratively come up with to, get this community kickstarted on cryptocurrency. I mean, Andreas Antonopoulos always talks about this. The people that can benefit the most from this. None of these people have bank accounts either. They can skip the whole failed banking system and go straight to cryptocurrency if they're provided the technology and the tools in a participatory model. So this is something that I really want to help with, and I'm going to be moving down there tomorrow. And I'll be living there basically, and documenting more, learning about their culture, and I would like to invite anyone that's interested to come down and see the site. We're building some of the biggest bamboo structures I think that's ever been built in Bali. Really spectacular architecture. Collaboratively, if we could think of maybe some sort of strategy or do some sort of fundraising lighthouse campaign to get 50 cheap Android smartphones and get them all started on with a little bit of seed Bitcoin, just to show them how it works and start to accelerate the crypto community there. It already works pretty well now in Ubud, Bali, but these are the people that need it the most because they're totally broke. And whenever I'm down there, they open their houses to me, they feed me, they give me everything they have, and never ask anything in return, even though they have very, very little. So I just want to do everything I can to help these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a case in point of basically Bitcoin or something like Bitcoin affecting all of the unbanked people of the world. It's a possibility to help in that regard.
Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned the festival, and you said the festival is cleaning up the garbage. Is the festival meant to have a positive impact on the people of this town or Bali itself, or what's the?
Yeah, so it's participatory. I mean, if you watch the whole film, basically the community elders are like, please help us. Please open up new fields of work. We want to, our old way of life is not working anymore, and we need new fields of work. So the idea of the festival is to develop this thing and then give it all back to the community over a period of time, so that they own all the infrastructure and they essentially run the site after all the investment's been put in. But none of the Bali Unite people have the faintest clue about cryptocurrency, and there's no economists within the team, so other than myself trying to put input in there. So it's a big opportunity for like a case study for a village to get on cryptocurrency, and then thousands of people are going to be there and learning about it, and I can make films about it and produce it as a short film case study. Here we have a fishing village that's on the edge of bankruptcy, and all their sustainable ways of living is gone, and their currency is not working for them either. So yeah, it could be, and this is, I mean, I've been making films in Borneo, and it's a similar point in case with a lot of the developing areas. The currency systems are just really not working for them, working against them.
Right, because there's the economic value leaks out if they're using a currency that's globally convertible. I mean, we've got some actually quite world-renowned experts that live right here in Ubud that are experts in complementary currency, which is something that predates cryptocurrency and is used by local communities to create resilience and to keep economic activity within the community itself. So in the case of these villagers, if they're doing things like if they go out and have fish and then they sell their fish on the open market to some global conglomerate, then the value is actually leaving the community. But if they're able to sell their fish to maybe someone locally and then that money stays, then, well, at least in theory, this is good for a small community. But I haven't seen it work myself. I've only read about it in books or read about it in theory. It would be really interesting to see if you can get something to take hold there.
Yeah, and they're not even aware of the economic value of their resources. Like, they produce salt there. It's like artisanal salt. It dries in the hollowed out core of a coconut tree, and then they scrape the top bit of salt, which is called the cream of the salt. It's amazingly good salt, and they'll sell you a bag like this big for $1. You know, so they need some economic education and economic support to help them harness the true value of their community, so that they can start to become rich, because they have all the resources and they deserve to you know, have their financial sovereignty for their village.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. Any questions?
When's the festival?
July 31st.
And they can go to baliunite.org?
Baliunite.com.
Okay.
There's the Facebook, which is getting a lot of traction now, and the YouTube channel as well. If you follow the link on the, if you just Google Bali Unite, you get it all, or if you Facebook Bali Unite. Most of the activities on the Facebook at the moment, and not really on the open web so much at this point. It was on I was on Net TV the other day. It's being there's press conferences going on in all over the place. I'm hoping to do a screening in Paradiso Ubud in the coming weeks and do a bit of a press conference there.
And you've got Most Def so far?
Yeah, Yassine Bey.
Yeah.
He'll be there. There's Kamani Mali, which is the son of Bob Marley. He's playing. It's a really good lineup.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, any other questions or? That's cool. I'd like to go check it out. Oh, question.
For interest, there was a couple of people here not too long ago working on a Bitcoin interface for non-smartphones. Did you run into those guys?
Yeah, 37 coins.
Is it?
They're right here in Ubud, and they've got an SMS gateway into Bitcoin. And I think they're going to present their solution. Their solution is ready to show, and we've just been trying to schedule it. They'll probably be here in the next week or the week following, but I can connect you before then.
Who would like a trip to the beach in the next week? Just come down and, I mean, it's a spectacular, beautiful beach, swimming and coconuts and all the things.
So how long are you going to be there for?
I'll be there full time from tomorrow morning for a week, and then I'll probably be in Borneo for a little bit, then I'll be back again full time pretty much until the festival starts. So anytime in the next 6 days, you know, maybe like a Thursday or a Friday would be a perfect time to come and have a day at the beach, go swimming, meet the villagers, and see what's being built, and learn about what's going on.
Is it just south of Ahmed?
It's just before Padang Bai.
Oh, before, right?
Yeah, just before Padang Bai. After the dual lane road finishes, it's another 10-15 minutes, and then turn right. I can share the Google Maps link on the Bitcoins in Bali page, and we could just start. Whoever wants to, we could just start a thing, and people could say, I'd like to come down, and we could make a little posse and just roll down to the beach.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Cool. More the merrier.
All right, so just check Bitcoin's the Bali group. We'll post some details there. And that kind of takes us to the end of our time. I had a few news items, but we're out of time, so I'll post those in the show notes. And just as a reminder, we do this every Tuesday night at the beautiful Ubud co-working space in downtown Ubud. If you're local in Bali, come join us at 6 o'clock local, or online or on Twitter. And thanks for coming tonight, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.